how to set things out so that you could build properly. After things were constructed, it was our, like say the carpenters would do their work, it was our job, or Lyle's and my job to, well, I tagged along with Lyle's job to check, make sure everything was done right. And I helped him with that. Later on, Lyle got transferred to a job in Stettler, and I was able to tag along and work again with Lyle and Stettler, but it was only for about 2 weeks. And then Lyle was taken to another job, and I went to work in the morning. Lyle was gone, and the superintendent came to me and he said, "Well, Gord, you're the surveyor now." Whoa, I hadn't quite expected this, eh? I said, I don't know how to use a level or a transit. I've never done that. I'm just a Joe boy. And he said, "Well, get yourself a helper, go out in the parking lot, learn how to use a transit, learn how to use a level. You're it." I have no doubt my brother had some say in how that worked. So after a day of figuring out what I was doing, the site superintendent, the project superintendent, came to me and he said, "Well, Gord, you're the surveyor. I'll be your chainman for a week. Make sure you know what you're doing, and then you're on your own." So the site superintendent was Gord's chainman. Gord went and figured out to lay things out, and so began my career. I owe him a lot. I surveyed for the next 10 years. For Lyle, he didn't like engineering, he liked surveying. I didn't like surveying, I liked engineering, so I went back to school and became an engineer. But it was through Lyle. When I came to Mayor Thorpe, Lyle was living in Calgary, living in an apartment building. Connie and Lyle were in the same apartment building. I had met Connie before, once at Christmas time in Crono, but I got to spend a lot of time with Connie and Lyle. Connie was a very wonderful person. Good cook, a friendly person. Lyle and Connie decided they'd show Gord the ropes after he'd left the farm. So old Farmer Gorwood, they took him skiing and to concerts and for nice meals, and Connie cooked some nice meals. It was very nice. We went skiing one time. Well, I was not a great skier. No, I wouldn't say I was a crappy skier. But we went to Norquay, and we were skiing there. And I'll make this sound good. I was skiing at Norquay. I'll tell you, it was a bunny hill later, but it was at Norquay, and I was skiing, and God, I was terrible. Like, I couldn't turn, I couldn't stop, I couldn't slow down. It was just go hell bent for leather and hope something happens or doesn't happen. And I wasn't that fortunate. They had to carry me off the slopes, and Connie came to me and she says, "Man, I've never seen anybody somersault with skis on before." He said, "The somersault was good, the landing needs some work." Thanks, Connie. I think I knew that. When I notified my cousins in around Chrono of Connie's passing. One of my cousins, Karen, said, "Oh, geez," he says, "I remember Connie so well." Connie was, when Lyle and Connie got married, she would have been 10. And she said, I thought Connie was a princess. She was so beautiful. After I married, Randy and I lived in Alberta, and Connie and Lyle were our surrogate parents for while we were here, about 6-7 years. We were always never lived in the same city, but we always get together and for all special occasions. And when we had our second kid, Connie looked after our first ones so that we could get our bearings, and Randy was in the hospital, and I could go visit them. Connie drove my oldest Red Deer, so we lived in Edmonton, so that I could work and see Randy in the hospital and stuff. So, and then we saw them, Lyle and I, go to football games in Edmonton. Never cheered for Edmonton, but we always went to the games anyways. It was they were good to us. I will miss them. I'll miss them. And I loved them very much. Thanks.
Whew. Randy, do you have something prepared as well?
I have. Just, I don't know if you want me up there because it's very short little.
Please do.
Okay.
I think I'll sit next to these two ladies here.
And like Gord said, Lyle and Connie were like surrogate parents when we were a young couple living in Alberta. And we were far away from any other family. And we were always welcome in their home. And we were treated to Connie's wonderful cooking and fussed over and treated like very special guests. And it's very much appreciated by a very shy 21-year-old. And I remember the day they adopted Greg. And I was living in a little basement suite in Red Deer. They were living in Calgary, and they drove to Edmonton to the Centennial Mall where the social services office was, and I think they said they got him at Wilco or whatever. But they stopped in at our place at sort of a halfway point to give me a peek at the baby. Gord was working out of town, and to take a little break, and Lyle was very carefully carrying this baby down the stairs to the basement suite, and Lyle and Connie saying, "Support his neck, watch for his head." And he was about 4 months old, and he was just looking all around, and he was running at 8 months. Like he was this. So at 4 months, I think he was basically sitting up and crawling almost. He just, yeah. But it was just so sweet, and they were so excited. So that was exciting. And then the following week, it was the Grey Cup weekend, and Opal and Norman came to Calgary to see the new baby. And Connie had been stewing all week. She thought he couldn't hear. She'd been sneaking up behind him and clapping, and he hadn't been noticing. So she'd been in a great stew that there was something terribly wrong, as new mums can be. And
I was just not paying
He was not paying attention. He was just being Greg. But so we were all watching the game, and the first touchdown, the men yelled and jumped, and the baby jumped and cried, and Connie said, "Oh my God, he can hear!" And she's just great relief. So yeah, some of those things were really fun, and they were just so good to